My name is Stephen and this is my channel, Heart's Delight Exports. Hello, time for another project video here, and today I'm working on plastering here in my youngest daughter's bedroom. I'm probably wearing plaster already, but I've started on the corner over here. Now I only have a little bit left to do up in the top and I can start papering the joint, and I'll show you how that's going to look in a second. Now this is what's called the first coat or scratch coat. Don't quote me exactly on terms because I'm picking them up as I'm going along. But over here on this wall's already been given a basic coat, and you can see some of the paper showing through a bit. Now this is not unusual on first coat of plaster being put on. This is actually fairly common. On the lower part here, where we got a joint, this part is actually looking a bit better. That's because of the way the drywall is actually constructed. There's a divot that starts about here, runs to the middle of the drywall, and the same thing on this side, so that when your drywall is met face to face this way and you plaster it over, then by the time it's done you won't be able to see a seam. But right now I need to finish this upper corner. Now I have a little putty knife, and I have a nice big putty knife here, but what I need is to get mud on the wall. Now, it should hopefully look like I'm being pretty generous with the mud here. That's what they call the plaster at this point, mud. I'm also using it to patch up a couple of holes as I'm going. But the important part is to get enough of it on the wall to be able to hold the tape in place. Now, hopefully, you could see that black part up on the wall, up about here. That was a screw head. As I'm going along, I want to cover those over as well. Now, I've been really generous on plaster because, well, the truth is, I'm going to be scraping most of that off again in a couple of minutes. So, the next part is to take my paper tape and roll off about 8 foot of tape. It's fairly easy to tear, and there's a crease in the middle already to make it easy to fold it over for just this occasion. Now I want to pre-fold paper, makes it easier to work with. I probably got about 10 feet of tape out and ready. But now that I have it bent and ready this way, I can start putting it in place. And I'm going to work from the top down. It's really just to push it into all that wet mud. And it should stick very easy. Move my chair. Now I get down here in the bottom, and of course I was right, and I've streeled off way too much paper. But I just cut off the excess and there's no big deal. push it in with my fingers, and I already got plaster on them. But the next part is relatively easy. You just run the knife right up along. That'll make sure that all the paper's in nice firm contact with the plaster. So right there in the corner, it's very small, but I made a little wrinkle. But when you hit a little wrinkle like that, just take your knife and smooth out from the corner, and you should be able to draw the wrinkle out. Sometimes you'll need to push into the corner here and actually push on the joint a little bit in order to get the paper to stick where it needs to be. Now that I have the paper pushed in, all this excess plaster is going to come in handy again, because it's going to go right back on the outside of the plaster tape. And again, I'm going to lay it on fairly thick so I can scrape it right back off again. Sometimes you do need the bigger knife. I've done it a couple of times in the past, and I've already done it once here, where I applied plaster to the wall and then I scraped with the knife, and I seem to just take everything off. You can see right here on the blue side that I got it nice and thick, but on the white side, the raw side, not so much. It's not going so much on there. Now that's not by design exactly, that's because I've got an uneven wall surface a bit, and I didn't handle the trowel or the knife just right. So I need to go back and fix it up a few times. Sometimes it'll take a little bit to get it just right, but eventually it should look more like this blue side here, where you got a fairly thick line out from the corner, and you need to keep your corner nice and clean. You want to watch out for bumps and stuff in the corner. And you're ready to go second coat on here. You don't want to have to contend with those bumps again. So now I need a little bit more plaster from my bucket, and I need to work on the upper corner a little bit here. big lump of plaster up here. I think you can see it. This is the type of thing that'll give you nightmares later. You want to keep that as cleaned up as you can. Now there's lots of specialty things, corner plaster rigs, I don't remember what they're called, that you can get that supposedly makes this easier. They don't tend to do well in houses that are not perfectly square. Now I don't remember what I was saying! Hey, kids. That's going to be it for me for a little while. I have to let the plaster dry and start to work on other bits, other problems, and it's the end of another video. So I'll see you next time I'm working on something you might find interesting. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button. The bell notification button will let you know when I upload a new video, because I'm still very random at this. And hopefully you'll leave a comment if I hit something that was interesting, or you have a bit of advice that we could use. I greatly appreciate it. So I'll see you next time I'm working on something of interest, and you have a good day.